We're going to take a look at the life of, or part of the life of Moses. At this point in time, God has used Moses powerfully in Egypt to deal with Pharaoh and to lead his people out of the land of Egypt. And they have crossed over the Red Sea, and it's about 2 months into their journey. Moses has spent 40 days and 40 nights on Mount Sinai with the Lord. And God has given him instructions on the tabernacle, given him instructions on the furniture of the tabernacle, the priesthood, the priests' outfits that they would be wearing. Has told him, given him, in essence, the 10 Commandments, shared those things with him. And we're going to pick it up at the last verse there of chapter 31. It says, "And when he had made an end of speaking with him on Mount Sinai, he gave Moses 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone, written with the finger of God." There's a place in Cranberry Township right along a main drag, 4 lanes, and it's a wetland area, and it sits right beside a restaurant, but it's down a slight embankment. But being a wetland, it's just kind of marshy looking. But at this time of year, whatever the plants are, I do not know. But they are beautiful. They're in full bloom. They're white and pink flowers, and sprinkled throughout that is a purple stem that comes up with real tiny, tiny, tiny flowers. And it is just an ocean of color, an ocean of beauty. And so you're driving to work, or you're driving here or there, and you can miss something really small and wonderful. So every once in a while, Mary says, "Drive me past that marsh." And so we'll drive past, and I'll put my 4-ways on, and we'll just crawl past that. And she's just oohing and ahhing, just looking at the wonder of this beautiful little spot. Just amazing, God's creation. So here we are. We're going to take a look at the life of Moses. But I found this verse for some reason, like that wetland, and stopped and dwelt on it a minute. So we're going to take a little side trip here, and I'm going to put the 4-way flashers on, and we're going to take a look at this for a minute. The finger of God has taken and written these commands on the stone. The finger of God. And I just was thinking about that. And immediately came to mind the hand that appeared in the book of Daniel in chapter 5, I believe it is. The handwriting on the wall, where the hand of a man appeared and wrote on the wall, "Mene, mene, tekel upharsin." And it says, "Your kingdom is finished. You've been weighed in the balance and found wanting. Your kingdom is divided to the Medes and the Persians." And I thought about that oftentimes what we see, although it says it's the hand of a man, I myself see that as the finger of Jesus Christ, the pre-incarnate Jesus Christ, being used to bring judgment on this kingdom. And thinking about the hand of Jesus, then, it takes us up to Luke chapter 8, I believe it is. Nope. Let's try John chapter 8. Yes. But Jesus went early in the morning, he came again into the temple, and all the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and the Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said to him, "Teacher, this is the woman caught in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned, but what do you say?" And this they said, testing him, that they might have something of which to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground with his finger, as though he did not hear. So when they continued asking him, he raised himself up and said, "He who is without sin among you, let him throw a stone at her first." And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And then those who heard it, being convicted by their conscience, went out one by one, beginning with the oldest, even to the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. And Jesus had raised himself up. He saw no one but the woman, and said to her, "Woman, where are those accusers of yours? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one, Lord." And Jesus said to her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." And then Jesus spoke to them again, saying, "I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life." And I thought about that, and people, it's kind of fun to see something like that and think, what did he write? And there was a time in my life, being much more immature, if you can imagine that, where I thought, well, maybe he wrote specific names, Bob with so-and-so's wife, Friday night, And I thought, no, that's not the way that God works. It said they were convicted in their conscience. God is not a God who does that. But his conviction comes that as we respond to it, he comes back again in grace. The grace is there. He's not a condemner. We have an enemy who condemns us for our sin. But God convicts us. So it would have been something different. He resists the proud. But as he's writing there, and I wondered if maybe he didn't use the same words. Your kingdom is finished. You've been weighed in the balance and found wanting. And it might be ironic that he might have said, your kingdom is divided, because he came to his own and his own rejected him. And so the word has come to us. Salvation has come to the Gentiles. So just Pastor Dave's ramblings on something like that, but just an interesting sideline, to consider. So let's get back to Exodus 32. Now when the people saw that Moses delayed his coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us gods that shall go before us. And as for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him." And Aaron said to them, "Break off the golden earrings that are in your ears of your wives and your sons and your daughters, and bring them to me." For it was those golden earrings that were kind of symbolic of the gods, the false gods that they would follow. And so it might have a symbol on it, or it might have a specific meaning as they kind of still had their background worship of false deities. So all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hand, and he fashioned it with an engraving tool and made a molded calf. And then they said, "This is your God, O Israel, that brought you up out of the land of Egypt." So when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord." If you notice there in your Bibles, the word Lord is capitalized letters. That means Jehovah. This isn't Jehovah. There's some drastic things happening here that shouldn't be. Verse 6. Then they rose early on the next day, offered burnt offerings, and brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. And the Lord said to Moses, "Go, get down, for your people who you have brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves."